Coming up on the Making Waves VO podcast.
Do you really think that AI might impact dubbing work?
I feel like it is to a certain extent, but right now I feel more of the AI involvement is on the production side. It's on the tools that they use for scripting, for not performance-based. It has nothing to do with the actors at this point.
Making waves.
Making waves.
Making waves.
Making waves. Making waves.
Making waves.
Making waves.
Making waves.
Making waves.
Making waves.
This is the Making Waves VO podcast with Kevin Kilpatrick and Bobby Maxwell.
Yes, it is the Making Waves VO podcast, presented by our good friends at Full Compass, fullcompass.com.
We know VO.
And Bobby, it's a particularly exciting episode of the Making Waves VO podcast today, because in just a moment, we're going to bring our guest on. That is Jessica Blue. Jessica Blue is a dubbing professional. She's a dubbing actor. She's a dubbing director. She manages dubbing jobs. She's a dubbing know-it-all expert, all of these things. We're going to chat with her in just a second. But Bobby, I wanted to find out from you, how was your week?
Cicada City.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have cicadas?
Yeah. You know, it's funny because last year they came and they're like, it's every 180 years or whatever it is. And they go, except for next year, they will be back next year. So, yeah.
I think they're back bigger this year. I mean, we have piles of them.
They are, and you know, they start about daybreak, I guess.
Yes.
And then they shut it down when the sun starts going down. And thankfully, they're quiet at night. But I don't know. You get used to the din of the sound. Does it affect your recording at all?
You know, walking outside, I think that it would affect it. I haven't really had a session or anything. So if I think that it's in there, I'll just, take the noise floor out. But it seems like it would because it's really loud. Somebody said it sounds like a car alarm going off.
Oh, wow. It does kind of.
Yeah.
And from what I gather, and I'm no cicada expert, I'm no, what do you call somebody that studies insects? Bugologist. I think that's the technical term. Bugologist. No, but I think that's the sound of them looking for their mate. I think it's a love call.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And when you see the big pile, somebody posted one. It was a huge pile, like 6 inches tall and like 2 feet wide, and they said that's a gangbang because they're all.
Jeez, Bobby.
What?
Well, I guess we are making waves. It's no longer family friendly. It's a cicada gangbang, y'all.
Whoever thought we'd get on that subject?
Yeah. Oh, I'm not an entomologist, by the way. That's what I meant to say. I'm not an entomologist.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm glad that you had a good week. I had a somewhat busy week, and I was really grateful for the week that I had because it was productive. I had plenty of things going on, but it did allow me some flexibility to catch up on some stuff that's been kind of on the back burner. So
good.
I love those kind of weeks when you're able to knock out some nagging tasks that have been bugging you. So.
Oh yeah, it's good to catch up.
One of those kinds of weeks. I tell you what, we're not going to make her wait any longer, but I want to bring on our guest, and she is fantastic. She is a producer, she's a director, and she is a voice actor, and she spends a lot of her time in the dubbing sandbox. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jessica Blue.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Sure.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on the Making Waves VO podcast. And Jessica, let's just dive right in.
Let's do it.
Yeah, you and I, we've known each other a couple of years now. We met at VO Atlanta a couple of years ago. And I'm just fascinated by the world where you play. You do a lot of dubbing stuff. I'm sure you do other stuff, but the majority of your world is dubbing. How did you get into the dubbing world? Well, first, let's start with an explanation of dubbing, and then tell us how you got into it.
Great segue into that. Dubbing is essentially taking a foreign product, a foreign film, a foreign television show, and dubbing it a la changing the voice so we can watch it in English and not have to read subtitles if you're not into reading subtitles. So we have actors come in, they look at the film, the TV show, they see the script of what's being said, and they basically act to the picture and recreate the performances that they see on scene. We record it and then lay it all together, and then you can then go and pull it up on whatever streaming service it's on and watch it without subtitles and hear the English. And it's super fun to actually be an actor and hear your voice on someone else's face on TV. That's super cool. But I also just love the whole process of it. It's very, very detailed and challenging. It can be overwhelming for a new dubber to come in, and because there's a lot going on, there's a lot to do. There's a lot of moving parts to the whole process. But it's just so much fun, and I love, love, love directing the actors as well. So
I think we took the session in Switzerland with Jeff Howe, and I think that's, it was, I was just like going, oh, this is so cool and so different. And I think that's when I first heard your name. So you must have been working with him for a while, or you...
He is the one who got me into this. So he had gotten a call from a studio that he worked at several years ago and said to direct a French film. And this was a little bit new to him as far as dubbing goes. And so he said, hey, called me up. I need your help. You're very organized. I need you to help me keep track of all the tracks and paperwork, and just I need your help. I'm like, okay, cool, no problem. I'm jumping all in. So that first French film that I worked on with him led into about 5 or 6 more films at that same studio, which was fantastic. So we really cut our teeth back then, just learning the whole process, learning the software that we use, which is VoiceQ. They're a firm out of Australia or New Zealand. And I basically taught myself how to use VoiceQ, how to work with the systems and everything. He would look at one TV screen, I would look at another TV screen. He'd be looking at that lip flap, I'd be looking over there, and we just try to make sure that, we were watching for each respective thing, and just to make sure it looked okay, sounded okay. And we would change dialogue on the fly if, it didn't work right or didn't sound right. And so, he was the one who pretty much got me into it. We sort of taught ourselves at that time the whole process, and we worked together on several films. And then I kind of taught myself the adaptation part of it, which is also when the script gets translated from the original language into English, it goes to an adapter. The adapter is the one who basically splits all of those lines up to match it to the sync of the actor on screen. And they're also adding in all of the vocal efforts, the vocal responses, the laughs, the crying, the efforts, anything that you vocally hear, that also has to be on the band, the rhythm band that's screaming by for the actors to read and perform. So I taught myself how to adapt, and I ended up helping him with an adaptation on another project he was directing, and then that studio hired me to direct and adapt, and it's just kind of blown up from there. So it's been a wild ride, and I absolutely love it.
It seems like like you said, a wild ride. And for our listeners, I'm going to describe the process just a little bit, because I've taken classes with Jeff, and now I've taken classes with Jessica as well. And so what she's describing, the VoiceQ thing, the scroll that you see on TV that shows all the news headlines. It's similar to that going on the bottom, but imagine the number of people that you have in a scene. There might be 3 people in a scene. So you've got 3 scrolls going down at the bottom. And now on each of these different lines, they're color coded. So the male character might be in blue, and then the female might be in red, and then the older person might be in gray, whatever that might be. They all zoom across, and I say zoom because sometimes they are zooming, right?
Yes, they are.
And then what is so neat is they have made it in such a way that it's intuitive. So when you see the wording squished together, that lets you know you got to be quick in this part. Yep. So if it's like all spread out, hi, Jessica, how are you today? That's all spread out, right? As opposed to squished together. Hi, Jessica, how are you today?
Exactly.
You got to start when the line hits, when your red line hits to start your line, and you got to be wrapped by the time that line is done scrolling across. And then the effort she's talking about, you might see an asterisk for an unidentified sound that might be a tick or anything like that. There's typically a slash line going up or down to indicate breaths. Yep. And this is all the stuff you got to watch while you're trying to keep an eye on the character.
Yep. Wow. It's a lot.
Jessica, can you elaborate on that just a little bit? What I was just talking about, what did I miss?
Yeah, no, you hit almost everything. It's literally, another director called it emotional karaoke. It's literally like karaoke because you are watching the bouncing ball or the scrolling thing.
That's a great description.
The scrolling line, right? Yeah. But it is so much to take in because yes, you are trying to watch these bands that are screaming by Speedy Gonzales super fast, read those that dialogue for your character and the characters you're talking to in the same scene, and then also trying to look up above those lines to watch the video to see what that actor is doing. What is their mouth doing? What is their face doing? Are they smiling? Is it a closed mouth breath or an open mouth breath or an open mouth laugh? You know, is it a ha 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 or is it
they got a mouth of food?
Yeah, a mouth of food. And trust me, I have all the tricks for that. We have people eating bagels or granola bars for food sounds, sipping sounds. When you hug someone, you know, your face might get a little muffled in their shoulders, so I'll have them just bury their mouth in their arm. People are making out with their hands if I need some kissing sounds. So it's a lot, but it's just you. I think you described it perfectly.
In the Making Waves VO podcast, we'll be right back.
Hello, this is Tom Pinto, voice actor and coach. And whenever I'm done listening to myself, I listen to Kevin Kilpatrick and Bobby Maxwell, the hosts with the most.
Oh, Bobby, I remember getting into voiceover, and one of the most exciting parts about getting into voiceover is buying all the gear. You don't realize that until you become a voice actor and you got to produce your own stuff. And you go, ooh, this part should be fun. But then you go, I have not a clue on what I'm supposed to buy.
Exactly.
That's why you trust your good friends at Full Compass, fullcompass.com. They know VO there, and you're going to have a great selection of pro audio gear, and you're going to get a lot of good help. And there's a lot of good attributes that go along with buying from Full Compass.
Yeah, so if you're not really sure when you got the piece of equipment and you have questions about it, they have a free 2-year service or repair plan. They have free shipping on orders over $49. I love that. I think my favorite thing is the low price guarantee because you just never know. You said a second ago that you're getting into this and you don't know what you need, but how about, do you know if you're paying the right price for it? So you don't have to worry about that when you shop at fullcompass.com. They'll guarantee to match the price on the products they sell for new, identical, and immediately available products offered at a lower price.
They have flexible financing, Bobby, and they also have free expert assistance, and that's why we say we know VO at Full Compass.
Everything from microphones to interfaces to headphones to mic booms, they've got it.
If you have any questions and you're more old school and you want to call them on the phone, you can call Full Compass at 800-356-5844. Full Compass and fullcompass.com.
We know VO. And now back to Making Waves. Do you usually get like a script of the English lines in there ahead of time, or are you just going into it looking at the screen?
No, well, as far as the actor goes?
Yeah.
The actor knows nothing. They don't prepare. They are walking in completely blind. Me as the director, I've watched the show. I might not have watched the entire show because sometimes if it's an episodic, I don't get all the episodes ahead of time. I might only get the first 2 of 10. So I don't even know what happens to these characters. I don't know if they're in it for the entire duration of the show. I don't know if they die in episode 3. I have no idea. But I know everything that's happening in those particular episodes. The actor walking into the booked session knows absolutely nothing. They might have an idea that they booked a lead role, and that's it. They don't know who it is. They don't know what it's about. They don't know what the show's about. It's my job to fill them in as to what the show is overall about, as far as I can tell them, and who their character that they are playing is and what they're about, what the personality is, and then start the first starting scene, what that scene's about, what's going on, and then kind of every scene after that sort of fill them in into, oh, by the way, this thing happened before that you didn't see because your character wasn't in that scene, but this is why you're saying this. So I kind of have to fill in the blanks because we're not going to sit there and watch the whole show. We don't have time for that. We're just recording that character's line. So we're jumping around from scene to scene to scene. So there might be bits and pieces that It's like, wait a second, that doesn't make sense. What just happened? Why am I saying this? It's like, oh, yeah. It's because that person pissed you off, and then you said, that happened to, yeah. So it's like kind of filling in the blanks as we go along for the entire thing. But the actors are walking in blind, so they got to be ready to go, super flexible, and ready to hit the ground running.
And probably a very big genre where you should have some acting background if you're thinking about getting into it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because it's definitely a skill to be able to not only obviously read, but not sound like you're reading and acting, but read fast and act. So you're reading so fast because this thing is going by a mile a minute. And so you have to not only read all of the lines and understand what's happening, but then you have to be able to recreate that in a performance that doesn't sound like you're reading lines off a zooming script.
Sure. Is it always like a group setting? Obviously, if it was just, a scene with one person, but is it typically kind of like looping where there are always a lot of people in the room?
No. When Jeff and I first started out, we would absolutely have multiple people in the studio, especially for the walla. The walla is the background noise. It's the murmur, the hum that you hear in a restaurant scene or an airport or whatever. And a lot of times there might be call outs that you hear in the other language. And so anytime we hear that, we need to basically cover that in English. So we would bring in 5 or 10 people, have them in the studio. We do kind of like the equivalent of an ADR looping session and just get all that coverage for all the walla. But ever since COVID, it's all one person at a time. We don't do group sessions anymore. So what we'll have to do is for all the incidentals. So as an actor, you could be booked for a lead and that's all you're doing and you're having multiple sessions, which is great. It's a nice chunk of change to book a lead. But you might come in just for a 1 session, 2 or 3 hour session, just to do a bunch of incidentals. You might be 2 or 3 roles, you might be 15 roles. So again, being malleable to change your voice print, tone, pitch, all that good stuff is going to help you go even farther because I can put you in more different roles or several roles. And these are things like, taxi driver or doctor or nurse or waitress or policeman, that kind of thing. But we would have those characters that are doing those incidentals also cover the walla cues that we need. Rather than have the leads do it, because we're not going to have the leads cover walla ever. We would just have the incidentals do it. So, but it's still one person at a time. So that's why we have to, because we can't do a group session anymore. So we would just have every incidental person that we have come in. We're just like, okay, we've gone all through your scripted roles. Now we're going to cover some walla. So then we just go through and just do a bed of wallas. And it's a lot of it's improv. A lot of it is just, okay, you're at the airport and we need you for 30 seconds to talk. Go.
Oh, cool. That's pretty cool.
That is very neat. What kind of skill set do you see lends itself well to the dubbing world?
Actually, I find a lot of people who are musically inclined, musicians or singers, are really good at dubbing because they have that melody and the timing of it. Because a lot of this is very melodic and it's a pacing situation. There you have to understand pacing of speech and just the timing of everything. And so I feel like a lot of times musicians have just an innate understanding of timing and they just really adapt to it really, really quickly. So that's kind of cool to see when I hear it's like, are you a singer? Are you a musician? Yeah, you pick this up really fast. And some people are just natural at it. And some people it's like, it's a struggle and it takes them a few times. But I've had one person who I cast as a lead, and I would never in a million years cast someone who's never dubbed before or very new to dubbing as a lead because they're the bulk of the lines in a show. I did not realize this person hadn't really dubbed that much before. She's a great actress. Huge, fantastic actress. So I knew she could do the role, no problem. But as far as the technical side of doing the dubbing part of it, that I had no idea that she was kind of new to it. And so I'm like, oh no, what did I do? Uh-oh. But she got in there. And it was a little rocky to start. I'm like, oh my God, do I have to recast? No, I just kept working with her. We gave it a little shot. We massaged it. We got it there. And by about 20, 30 minutes in, we found the character and she got her groove. It's literally just rinse and repeat. The more you practice, the more you do it, the better you get at it and the easier it becomes. And I've had this happen so many times in my workshops where a brand new person who's never dubbed before, doing it for the first time, and we watch the scene first so they understand what's going on. I'm not going to throw you completely in the hot seat and totally blind, just say, okay, go. So we watch the scene and they read everything, they see everything, and then we do a take. And of course they're messing up lines and the pacing's off and everything because it's just like all coming at you a million miles a minute. And then I give them direction, we do it again. The second time they already feel more comfortable because now they know what they're working with, they know what they're dealing with, they've seen the script, they have the words, they got the words out of their mouth for a take, and so they understand what it feels like, what it sounds like in their body. And then by the second time that they do it, they're just that much more comfortable. So if we had time to do third and fourth, they'd be a pro by the fifth take, which is fantastic. Now in an actual dubbing session, we don't have time for 5 takes. We usually do 1 take and move on. Sometimes we'll get a safety take, a second take, and then we'll move on. But if it's good on the first take, we're going on. We don't have time to do a million takes unless we got to massage the dialogue or change stuff or whatever. But yeah, it's fun.
I mean, I'm curious about where you get the work, and the reason I asked this, just this past week, I've never done dubbing other than taking the class with Jeff. There was a job, an audition on a pay-to-play, and they wanted you to sneeze, and that's it. They just wanted you to sneeze, and I'm thinking, well, I'm sure, a French person's going to sound the same as me sneezing. And I thought this is some kind of a scam or something because they showed you the video and the girl, she was sneezing, but she didn't have any clothes on. And it was like, it was from her chest, the top of her chest up. And I'm going, there's something weird about this.
That's super weird.
Why would you do a sneezing dubbing job? But how do you get the job? How do you get the work?
That's I'm blown away by that. That's really weird and funny. How do you get the job? So the casting process from my end is if I am doing the casting on a show, which I do often, I will just plop in people that I feel are right for the role, that I've worked with before on other shows, that maybe I've had in a workshop and I want to give them a shot and see how they do in an actual session because they knocked my socks off in the workshop, or they were recommended to me by another director. So there's no audition. I'm just casting right off the bat, and lucky you get an email saying, hey, you booked a show, want to come in? And there's other times where if I'm not casting it, it's another casting director who's kind of doing the same thing. They're pulling from people that they've worked with, that they know, and plugging them in the roles. And then I'm saying yay or nay to those people as the director. Then there's another option where the client wants to have final approval on who is the voice for certain characters, usually the leads. And so in that instance, it might be a combo where either me or the casting director is pulling people and giving demo samples, or we might actually hold auditions. So we'll take a part of the script for that character, send them out to agents, and then the agents will have their talent read on it, submit it back to us. I'll cull it down to my top 5 picks, send those to the client. The client will pick their pick, and then we go from there. So the auditions, they might come through agents. If the agents end up putting them on pay to play or something, I'm not sure how that they would get on pay to play. That might be some non-union stuff as well, because most of my projects are union. So it's a myriad of ways that you get work, because also on the flip side of that, a lot of these studios that do these dubbing recording projects, a lot of them have their own in-house talent coordinator or casting person, and they maintain their own talent roster, talent database. So it's kind of a cool idea if you want to, if there's, I tell everybody this, Google is your friend. Use it to research dubbing studios in your area or around you, or the ones that might do remote dubbing sessions. reach out to those studios and see if they're accepting new talent to be included on their roster, because that's how you could possibly get in. Someone might hear the demo and say, oh, I just saw this show come in. That person might be good for this role. Like, why don't we give them a shot and try it out? So that's a way that you could at least get on their radar. But that's half the battle, is getting in front of the people that make the decisions to cast. Sure. Because I think the auditions are few and far between compared to just having be known by the casting directors or the decision makers who do the casting to be able to pick you.
And if you're going to reach out to folks, like Jessica or Jeff Howell or others that she's talking about, your weaponry that you might need. Jeff mentioned this the other night. It could be as simple as a commercial demo that conveys some emotions, but you could also slap something together that Jeff recommended. You don't need sounds, you don't need music, you don't need sound effects or anything like that. He said just pick some plays or a movie and just pick some lines from that show a range of emotions, and then just put those down and then just send a sample, right?
Yeah.
Or what? Can you expound on that?
You absolutely could do that. From when I'm casting, I go straight to the commercial audition, because in live action dubbing, we want real, grounded, authentic, natural sounding voices, which is what you normally naturally sound like when you talk. So your commercial demo is going to have at least one spot on there that sounds just like you, not, this affectation you put on or a crazy character or whatever. And it's also going to show a little bit of the personality, the range of personalities that you're able to perform. I might, if I have time, go and click on, an animation demo or a video game demo if you have one. But I'm going straight to the commercial demo. If you wanted to find some video or whatever, or a character, some lines, and then, record those lines and put it together in a little video as a sample. As long as you say, this is a sample, I didn't actually book this kind of thing, but here's like something that I could do, and send that as an offering of, hey, this looks cool, this sounds cool, and I did this. So here's a sample of what I could possibly do for you. That's really cool. I actually had a student of mine do that exact thing. She just posted it, I think, on Instagram, tagged me in it, and sent it to me saying I inspired her to do it. And I'm like, that's so cool. And she sounded perfect in the scene. And it was just so great that she even took the time to do that as just a thing to say, hey, this was so much fun, and you can do this too. And it's really cool to, again, hear your voice on someone else's face on screen. So yeah, absolutely, why not do that? That's super cool.
Hola, soy Jenny Álvarez y estás escuchando el Making Waves VO podcast con Kevin y Bobby.
If it's okay, I would love to bring in our producer, Lacey, to ask her a couple of questions, because Lacey has worked with you, and Lacey in the past year moved to Dallas for dubbing in particular. So, Lacey, why Dallas? What caught your interest in dubbing? How'd you get there?
Oh, yeah, sure. So dubbing specifically, a lot of the passion that Jessica speaks about it with is how I feel too. It's always so cool seeing your voice on someone else's face. I feel like it's one of the purest forms of acting, especially in the voiceover world, because it's all pretty cold. Like, as Jessica said, you come in and that's probably the first time you're going to see the script. I also feel like dubbing is one of the most collaborative parts of voiceover that I've personally had the chance to do, because, as Jessica said, since we don't see the script coming in, someone like Jessica is going to say, here's how the scene's going, here's what's happening, here are these characters, and you've got to make on the fly decisions, and that's you working with the director real time right then and there to make these characters come to life. And it's always so fun, and it feels so new. Especially my biggest thing has been commercials for a really long time, and I love commercial work. Genuinely, I do. But there's just something about not getting my 3 takes and then see if they like it, and then we just read the same thing over and over again. There's just something about, okay, but what if, like, this line, she was a little more annoyed? Why don't you make her a little more whiny? And that's just, it's just the collaborative aspect of dubbing. So that's why I fell in love with dubbing. Dallas specifically is because I really want to do anime. I grew up with anime. It was my whole childhood, and then especially growing up and seeing it get so much bigger has been really, really fun, because anyone out there listening who was in the YouTube scene in '05, you'll know that, being an anime kid was, you didn't talk about it. You didn't tell anybody about it. But now, there's so many people who love anime. There's so many people who want to talk about it and be involved in it and are a part of that culture. And so getting the chance to, I don't know, do something that little girl Lacey would have been so proud of is why I moved to Dallas specifically, because I want to get in with Crunchyroll, and you need to be in person because they basically only do in studio. So that's why I'm here. But I love dubbing in general, the live action stuff. I've taken classes with Jessica Blue as well, and I don't know, there's something about the dubbing that makes me feel like I'm on crack.
I almost spit out my coffee there.
Did you have any questions for Jessica, Lacey?
Yeah, Jessica, so you said that you bring in people, you don't necessarily listen to auditions. I know that some other forms of dubbing, though, do require some kind of audition, some kind of sample. When you're reading the lines, especially using the Rhythmoband, the breathing is there for you. It shows like a slant upward or a slant downward to tell you when you need to take in these big breaths. In an audition, do you want to hear efforts and breaths around the lines, or do you only want to hear the lines themselves that are provided to you?
I want you to make it sound as real and natural as possible. So if that means that you are taking a breath or chuckling or sneezing or whatever, you're going to do that in your audition. It's no different than you get a video game or an animated character. How are you bringing that to life? So it makes it sound like you can actually see what's happening just by hearing your voice performing that. It's the same exact thing. So yes, I've seen the video and I have all the cues for all the vocal reactions and everything, but the trick for a dubbing audition is to try to find little nuggets in the script that clue you into where you might be at, because you might not get a description, because when they send out the auditions sides for dubbing, there's not a lot of info that they give you. And so you might not even know where the scene is taking place. So that's a choice you have to make right on the fly when you record your audition. Where am I? So that's going to indicate how loud you're projecting or soft you're projecting. So if you're outside in a park, you might be talking a little bit louder because there might be a lot going on. But if you're in bed next to someone, you're going to talk a little more intimate because you don't have to yell because they're right next to you. So projection is key in how you determine that. And yeah, absolutely, because add those efforts, those extra little things. Even I know, what is it for? I think, is it TV commercials? They always say don't ad lib because it's the script and it has to be that. But radio, you can, you're a little free to. I would say it's kind of the same thing, but with a caveat. You don't want to change the words per se at all. And you don't necessarily want to add buttons or anything like that, add extra stuff on a dubbing audition, but the vocal stuff, absolutely. So if you want to have a chuckle or an inhale or a sigh or whatever, that's going to help just lift that character and bring it to life all that much more. So I'd say go for it. Absolutely.
Yeah, sounds like finding a nice middle ground between going above and beyond and finding that natural read. I had one more question, if you're okay with it. Just out of curiosity, how often are you in studio versus directing remote?
I'm right now 100% in studio.
Oh, that's cool. Sick.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jessica. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's so lovely to talk to you again.
It's so lovely to talk to you, too.
You don't want to miss what's next. Making Waves returns momentarily.
This is Tracy Thibodeau, and you've got the best VO podcast in all the land right here. The Making Waves VO podcast with Kevin and Bobby. Enjoy.
As a voice actor, you want to focus on what's important, right? Like pulling off the perfect read. You don't want to stress about tech stuff. That's why Full Compass is in your corner. With 50 years experience in pro audio, Full Compass has everything we voice actors need. Mics, headphones, monitors, mixers, interfaces, DAWs, all the goodies. And their certified product experts help with everything they sell. Plus, you can get free same-day shipping, flexible financing, and a low price guarantee. See it all at fullcompass.com. Fullcompass.com. They know VO.
And now, back to Making Waves.
Well, I have an interesting question without getting political, and maybe this has nothing to do with what you're doing. With the tariffs on international films coming in, is that affecting your work?
As of now, no, but who the heck knows? I didn't even hear. I had an actor come in the other day. It's like, oh yeah, did you hear about the tariffs on foreign films? I'm like, what? What? I had no clue because I'm buried in this production right now. So I'm like off social media. I don't have time for anything else. So I missed that news flash. But I mean, as of right now, no, because there's still stuff coming in. If that's going to change in the future, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to affect. I mean, I do kind of feel like there might be an expiration date on dubbing at some point down the road, but I still think we've got a few more years left of doing this work, just between AI, between everything. And I'm going to ride this wave for as long as I possibly can because I love it so much.
Good.
Do you really think that AI might impact dubbing work?
I feel like it is to a certain extent, but right now I feel more of the AI involvement is on the production side. It's on the tools that they use for scripting, for not performance-based. It has nothing to do with the actors at this point. But there is software out there. There are companies out there that have created this crazy tool that allows the original language speaking actor, say a Swedish actor, they can have that same actor with that same voice, and they somehow manipulate the scene to where it can be any language and it's the same actor's voice doing it in all the different languages.
So that's
very
AI.
cool. Very cool to see, but also very scary. So I don't know how that's going to impact it going forward. But as of, it's just like anything new right now, it's super expensive. Not everybody's going to be on board with it. And it's going to take, if that were to become the norm, it's years before it's like across the board where everybody's doing that. So I feel like we've got some time before, we're at that stage, and that's knocking on my door. So I don't see that happening anytime soon from my perspective.
Okay. In the dubbing process, Jessica, what between, the translation of the script, the adaptation, the recording the actors, what is the most challenging? I would think maybe the adaptation part.
Yes.
But I don't know. That's the most challenging in the whole process?
Yes, because
I would imagine. That's
adaptation,
mind-numbing.
and it's so mind-numbing. I do it, and I don't like it. I much prefer directing. And I sucked when I first started. Let me tell you, I was horrible at it. And it is definitely a learned skill. And it's not for the faint of heart because it is so tedious, because not only are you having to, split lines, line them up and to the sync of the mouth movements and everything, you're also changing the lines to sound more conversational. And sometimes if you're a newer dubber, you're still kind of married to the translation. And so the translation might sound a little clunky, but it looks great. It matches the lip flaps great, but it sounds clunky. We would never talk like that. So it's very tedious, especially too, because if you have a scene with, say, 5 people in it, and they're all talking over each other, you have to adapt that scene minimum 5 times because you have to do it for each character individually. So you have to watch the one character, do all of their lines, then watch the second character, do all of their lines, the third, and so on. So you're seeing this show scene after scene multiple times, and I can't tell you how many times I've adapted a show and I never want to see that thing again because I've seen it so many times. And it's similar to directing. I've watched the show multiple times, obviously, because I've prepped it, because I have to watch it before we start recording, and I usually watch it at least twice before we start recording, so I know what the heck's going on and I understand the characters. And then of course I'm watching it for every person we're recording in that scene. So if there's a scene, I have this huge gang fight scene that I'm doing right now, there's probably 50 guys in it, and we have about 10-15 guys coming in. I have to watch that 15 times because I have to record all those lines at least for every single person. So it gets very tedious. So by the time I'm done with the show, whether it's adapting or directing, I'm not watching this thing ever again because I've seen it a million times. And
Safe to say you know the material.
I know it so well, yeah. But I definitely the adaptation is the most critical, the most important, because also if the adaptation is not done well, if the script is clunky, if it doesn't sound conversational, or they miss certain key points, they're switching the intention of things that the original script meant to say this, and then the adapter got creative and said, no, we're going to say this. Like, well, that doesn't quite match and jive with the whole storyline and everything. Then I, as the director, have to rewrite it in the session. And the worse the adaptation, the more rewriting I have to do, which means the less recording time I have with my actor. And I only have so much time with my actor to get all the lines that we need to get recorded in that session. So if I'm stuck rewriting and retooling and spacing and all of this stuff, that's taking away from our actual record time. So it's a bummer. But I'm really fast and good at it because I have the adaptation background, but it just takes a lot of time to do. So if you have a really solid, good adaptation, oh my gosh, it makes the recording sessions just sing and go by so smoothly, and it's fantastic. It's just a godsend, but it's tough. It's a tough job. And it's thankless. Yeah.
Let's bookend that really quick now. What's the most rewarding then?
When an actor comes in and I feel like, what am I here for? Because you just nailed that performance. They just come in and knocked it out of the park, and I'm just like, I just let them go. And I was just like, you got this. You know what you're doing. And it just sings and it's fantastic. Or if I'm sitting here crying in my chair because their performance was so moving and so beautifully done, that just makes my heart sing. And it's just the best feeling in the world that they're having fun, I'm having fun. And yeah, it's super collaborative, and we're all just rocking it out and having a great time. So, yeah.
Wow. I just have one last question. Show me the money. What can you make? Does SAG have dubbing rates?
Yeah.
Are you looking at usage? Do you have to sign an NDA typically? How's that look for the actor?
Usually there's there's non-union and union. I'm going to speak from the union side of things because I don't necessarily work on too much non-union, but there is some non-union dubbing out there. But like everything non-union, it's kind of the Wild West. The rates can be pretty much anything, and you're on your own as far as contracts and NDAs and all that good stuff. For union, you're probably always going to sign an NDA. Security is super, super tight. They a lot of times have code names for the shows because they don't want you to leak it and say what you're actually recording, even though when you go in, you know, especially if it's already been out. The rates, they do have a SAG rate. It's based off the Netflix agreement that SAG has. And so the majority of all SAG union dubbing jobs default to that Netflix agreement. And I think right now it's about, I want to say $100 an hour for a 2-hour minimum. And I think it's going to go up in July, I want to say. It's not a lot of money, unfortunately, and I feel like it should be more because, like Lacey was saying, you know, you're not just saying a 15, 30-second spot and doing it 3 times and then you're off. You're doing a full-blown performance. This is like a play, real-time stuff. So it's way meatier and juicier, which I freaking love, but it doesn't pay that well. And so you definitely make more if you are cast in a lead role because that's multiple sessions. So my leads can have 2 or 3, 4, sometimes 4, sometimes 5 sessions every week because it all depends on how much dialogue that character has. So you might get booked for multiple sessions a week for 5 to 6 to 8 weeks, depending on the length of the show. If it's a movie, movies are usually record about between 2 and 3 weeks time. A series, depending on the length of the number of episodes, it can be anywhere from 4 weeks to 10 weeks. It just depends on how many episodes there are. I'm doing a 16 episode right now, and we're in an 8-week recording schedule. We're turning them around super fast. So that means that you will have multiple sessions, multiple bookings. So that's extra money. If you're doing incidentals, depending on if those incidentals are recurring, then that could maybe be an extra session, because if your character comes back and we need you, then yeah, that's a second session. So you'll get that much more money. But yeah, leads will definitely make more money than one-off characters.
Fascinating. Wow.
Yeah.
This has been good stuff, Jessica. Before we let you go,
Yeah.
I'm going to throw something at you.
Okay.
And you don't have to have one if you don't, but oftentimes our guests will have a nightmare session story. It's a session or a story about a session that couldn't have gone much worse. And now for you, it could have been as a producer, could have been as a director, it could have been as an actor yourself. Do you have a nightmare session story that you'd be okay sharing?
Oh, I do.
Oh, please favor us. Tell us a campfire story.
Campfire, sorry.
Nightmare Sessions.
Gather round, kids. Listen up. Kind of two, actually. The first one, and they're both kind of the same vein. It has to do with clients being in the room. So oftentimes we will have the clients want to sit in on sessions. And a lot of times it's sort of like a road trip, you know, it's like show and tell, and you got to do the dog and pony show for them. But most of the time, the clients are excited to be there. It's like a day out of school, you know, it's a field trip. They get to see a recording studio, and it's like super fun and exciting. And they're just like, wow, this is a cool process. And they're taking pictures, and they're just like, oh, this is so great. That's the dream. And I've had that before when clients come in and I got to do the dog and pony show. When it's not that, which was happening, I had this one session where it was clients coming in from overseas. Only one of them spoke English. The other one spoke Japanese. And it was my first like full real solo directing gig. So I was already like nervous going into everything. And then to have them and my producer sitting there watching me direct this actor, watching this scene. And the worst thing that could happen happened to me in my head was that there was a line that was said and it needed to be rewritten, and my mind went blank. I had no idea. I had no idea what to say, what I could put in that in lieu of the line. And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. What do I say? And then all of a sudden my producer from behind me says, why don't you just say this? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's great. Crap, why? And so I looked like a total idiot, like, what am I doing? Blah, blah, blah. That was mini nightmare. The bigger nightmare was that it was that times 10 because I had clients in from Korea, the client from that hired the studio locally in LA were there. So I had the client producer, that person's boss, then the Korean clients coming in, who I think two of them may have spoken English, the rest only Korean. And then the people in the studio, the higher ups in the studio that I was working at were also there because they brought them in and they were wanting to see and make sure that, you know, taking care of our client kind of thing. And literally there probably had to be about 10 people in the room with me and my engineer directing this lovely woman, and thank God she didn't miss a beat. She was fantastic, but the same thing kind of happened where we had to rewrite something, or it was something about a formal thing. So in Korea, they have this formality where they always call people by their formal names, or sir or mister, even though they might be best friends. They still have that formality. And so there was a situation where, do we say casual? Do we say formal? What do we do? And so I turned and included one of the clients in it and got him involved to, you know, make him feel like he was a part of the process. But it was too many cooks in the kitchen in that situation, because I had the client, producer, and her boss chiming in and trying to direct. Then I had the clients giving their 2 cents. Literally everyone like, does anybody just want to take over here? Because what am I doing here? You guys, do you guys know better?
Wow.
Like, I'm just going to sit here and let you guys do this. It was so stressful, so challenging. And my engineer, I know he was just like biting his lips. He's like, I'm just going to press the buttons and hit record and do my thing. Because he was just like, thank God I don't have to deal with that. But it was just a juggling of personalities and influences and everything. It was insanity. Insanity.
Wow. Yeah, that's a true nightmare. Well, thankfully you survived that.
I did, thankfully. And I learned from it, which is good. That's the whole point, you know. Take something out of that, learn from it. And now I know I can handle any client in any dog and pony show. I'm good to go. Bring it on.
Jessica, if anybody wanted to get a hold of you for coaching and dubbing or some classes that you have coming up, how can they reach you?
Yes, jessicablue.com is my website. I have a dubbing page on there that you can see all the stuff that I've worked on in my little director reel that I have on there. And on my contact page, there's a link that will take you to my schedule, my calendar, where you can sign up for a one-on-one. I don't have any classes that I'm doing on my own yet. I do have another one coming up, I think in August, but that's also listed on my website, so you can check that out. And if you want to email me, jessvo@jessicablue.com.
Thank you so much for your time. This has been so
You're
fun,
welcome.
so eye-opening for many, I'm sure, and just a true pleasure to have you on.
Thank you. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
I could have kept talking, Bobby, because
it's very interesting.
It's a fascinating world, and it is kind of a white-knuckle thrill ride in many ways. But what a great guest. Jessica is just she's a bounty of energy. She's a bounty of optimism, and she's somebody great to have in this industry.
Oh, yeah. Very, very impressed with the whole process of it all. So appreciate her being on.
Yeah, since Lacey is kind of in this world and interested in this world, Lacey, what did you think about the podcast today?
I just love Jessica in general. I got to work with her at VO Atlanta, I think 2 years ago, not this most recent one, and that was the first time I saw her. And I'll tell you, we had I think 12 people in our X session, and she got with us, I think, probably a month or two before VO Atlanta even started, and she listened to everyone's demo. She looked at everyone's website, and she got scripts and scenes from stuff that she had done that fit the individual person to give us, the best shot we had to really learn and soak up what dubbing was. And from that moment, I've just been a huge fan because she truly is dedicated to this craft, to being a director, to being a dubbing person, and I'm always in awe of her every time I get to see her. So, that's Jessica.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for your input, Lacey. And something, I don't know if y'all found this interesting too, but something I found interesting, and I found this out when I did a class with Jeff Howell almost a year ago. I asked about the rates. And I was a little surprised that they paid as little as they do. Now, $100 an hour is nothing to sneeze at, especially if you get, like they said, a lead. But it can add the volume. But to me, the reward is the art you leave behind. What do y'all think about that?
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the whole reason I'm doing dubbing in general, is for the art of it.
All right, good. I'm just making sure it wasn't just me, because I'm like a lot of people just like turn their nose to that, but I'm like, no, it's so much fun. And then to be able to turn on Netflix and go, hey, there's me,
Yeah.
There's something about that, rather than, buy a new car for $5.99 a month, or whatever. So, well, great episode of the Making Waves VO
Thanks for having
podcast.
me.
Lacey, thank you for your input.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And Bobby, any final parting words?
No, I'm just blown away. Gosh, we have to thank Jessica because this was done on a weekend, and for her to give us her time, her precious time, it sounds like, we really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Now it's time to go mow the lawn.
Yeah. in your
The
cards,
Making Waves
Cap.
VO podcast presented by our good friends at Full Compass, fullcompass.com.
We know VO.
Bye, Bobby. Bye, Lacey.
Bye.
The Making Waves VO podcast is produced by K2 Media Productions with hosts Kevin Kilpatrick and Bobby Maxwell. Sound design and editing by Jason Traver. Production assistance by Lacey Deline. Publicity and social media by Shannon Scott and Silas Phillips. Be sure to subscribe to the Making Waves VO podcast on your favorite platform. For all episodes, merchandise, gear, and more, visit makingwavesvo.com. Until next time, I'm AJ McKay. Keep making waves.